It's a vivid, wonderful film. Not precisely factual, but I hope it gets the Best Picture award.
Mr. President, before you came here, we were talking about your favorite for the Academy Awards Best Picture tonight. So there were a number of questions. Let me try to roll them into one. There's been a bit of controversy relating to the movie Argo over the role played by Canadian Ambassador Ken Taylor and his embassy staff versus that played by the CIA in shepherding 6 U.S. diplomats to freedom during the '79 hostage crisis. Can you shed some light on these events? And are there any events that weren't captured in the movie that you can share with us?
Well, I was on the Piers Morgan show, and he's here in California to report on the Oscar presentations tonight, and that's why he concentrated on this particular issue. As a matter of fact, I was present when the hostages were taken in Iran, as most of you old enough would remember, and I was informed immediately that 6 of our hostages were not taken in the compound by the Iranians. They escaped. They went to 2 or 3 other places. And, for instance, the British and some others wouldn't take them in, so they finally wound up in the Canadian embassy and the DCM's office where they were taken in. And the Canadians were in great potential trouble then, because all of their diplomats could also have been taken hostage if they had been caught protecting Americans. And so Ken Taylor was the ambassador there, and Flora MacDonald was the foreign minister for Canada. I was faced with a very difficult position, too, because I wanted to keep it absolutely secret. And we finally worked out an agreement between the CIA and the Canadians that the American hostages would escape using Canadian passports. But you can imagine the difficulty, legally speaking, for the Canadian Parliament to issue false passports. So the entire Parliament had to go into secret session, the only time they've ever done that in history, and they did, and they voted to issue the 6 false passports. And they kept it secret. So the false passports went over there, and the hostages were permitted to leave. The movie role played about the American hero, he was only there a day and a half. Ken Taylor and them were there through the whole thing. And so when the Americans escaped, contrary to the very vivid end in the movie that brought me to the edge of my seat as well when I watched it, where this pickup truck outran a jet airplane taking off. I'm not criticizing Hollywood, but nobody ever knew that the 6 Americans had been in the Canadian embassy until they were safe in Switzerland. And my wife and I were invited to go to Queen's College in Canada last fall to receive honorary doctorate degrees, which we did. And so I watched Argo before I went because I knew that Ken Taylor and Flora MacDonald were going to be in the audience. They had also seen the film. And my judgment is that 90% of the credit for that heroic and brilliant move should have been with the Canadians. And the movie ignores practically any contribution by the Canadians. So, but aside from that, it's a vivid, wonderful film. Not precisely factual, but I hope it gets the Best Picture award. And you said one other thing. One other thing that hasn't ever been explored. On a different basis, we had CIA agents going into Iran fairly often. I see my message. And one time we had 4 CIA agents went in, and there was a very close relationship between Iran and Germany. Most of the Iranian leaders were educated in Germany. So we ordinarily used German passports. So these 4 Americans were leaving Iran and went through customs. And as they went through, one of them showed him his passport. He said, "Okay, go ahead." And he walked about 20 feet, and the customs agent said, "Wait, come back." He said, "I've been a customs agent here for 20 years. I have never before seen a German passport with an initial on it. They always spell out the full names. And here, your name here is Ira H. Shifter." He said, "I don't understand it." So the CIA agent thought very rapidly, and he said, "Well, I have to confess, when I was born, my parents gave me the middle name of Hitler. And I have special permission to use the initial." So that going through.
One last.
That hasn't been told publicly before, by the way.